So, Myra, these numbers are really interesting when you think about the fact that there could be no majority racial group in this country, or in fact, that it doesn't look like there will be. And that means just has all kinds of ramifications. I can't even begin to get my head around it. But what interests you about that?
There were a couple things that I found very interesting. One of them being education, the other one was politics, and also how that affects or shapes the church. And I mean, obviously, we're looking at something that it's happening very quickly, which was another very impressive factor in this change.
Right, and you think about the power dynamics in our country. If there is no majority racial group, perhaps there's hope that, there will be more harmony, more unity. There's always that potential.
There's that potential, but ironically, I think that's actually what scares a lot of people. The fact that, like, oh, now these people are going to be majority. What does that mean for me in terms of resources? But ideally, that's what we're hoping. It's actually the opposite, that we're able to find more common ground and realize that the tone of our skin might be different, but at the end of the day, we all have the same needs. We all need education, and we actually need to work together, because the way I like to put it to some friends is, me being Hispanic, we ain't going anywhere. And I don't usually talk like that, but it's just like, just because it worries some people doesn't mean that this is going somewhere, that we are disappearing per se. What it says is you have more people contributing to this nation, and if you think about it, it's actually really good globally, I think, because it helps us also understand other nations.
Right. I thought it was interesting what Carlos Campos said when he said he thinks there will be a seamless assimilation of Latinos into the population because he thinks their values are similar. I agree with that to a point, but I also think a lot of Latinos are coming from countries where they haven't been active politically because they couldn't be. So I think there's going to be a learning curve for them to learn how to be in a democracy.
I agree. I think that there is a seamless assimilation when it comes to family values, when it comes to, which I mean, family is the foundation of society. So you need to have good family values to hopefully have people who will be productive and who will contribute to the community. However, we have people coming from countries where they don't really know what a democracy is. And you also have people who, because of the language barrier, already feel that they don't belong. So unless we're actively helping these people assimilate, that could be a problem. So yeah, we have to be realistic and say it is a seamless assimilation in some ways, but in a lot of other ways, it's going to take a town or a village to, raise the next generation and help in this assimilation. And another thing that you asked Dr. Campo, and I found very interesting, is the influence or how this affects the church.
Right, and he was saying that, really Latino growth in all the churches, in evangelical independent churches and mainline denominations, in the Catholic Church, the main growth is coming from the Latino population. And that means that Latinos really can have an influence in building up, the body of Christ in this country. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that looks. We were also talking about education and the fact that, unbelievably, and just by a few percentage points, but the percentage of Latinos in college is greater than the percentage of whites in college right now. So that perhaps bodes well for the future.
And I think that's something very important to understand, because initially I thought there is no way that there are more Hispanics in church right now, in college right now. And he said in percentage. So that means that there could still be, and there probably are, a lot more white students in colleges. But what you have is a higher percentage when we're talking about the ballpark. And that is a huge change, because when I was an undergrad, I remember one of the things I learned in one of my classes was that when you talk about Hispanics and the dropout average, a lot of that number is coming from only one group, and that is, when you think about it, is Mexicans. And I thought it's unfair, but it's because they're the majority, but they're usually the ones who are dropping out because they have to work for their families, which is something that Dr. Campo talked about. But I'm talking about, I graduated, I don't know, like less than 10 years ago, and to see this jump, it is very hopeful. And what the other thing that he was talking about is, if we're able to kind of close that gap and make sure that they graduate college, that leads us to the next thing. And it's the political influence, because you have more people who are graduating who can contribute to businesses, who can contribute to society, to medicine, to so many things. So it's definitely something that, regardless of the political environment for the past decades, they're saying we are going to thrive. And that's not only for Hispanics. We're also seeing a lot of Asians and a lot of people from other countries who are coming. And I think that it's it's something to pay attention to and see
it's
how
helpful too,
yeah,
because
exactly.
you don't want a large demographic that is uneducated. That's
Exactly.
really not good for anyone. Well, those are a lot of our thoughts. We have many more, but
Yes.
we'd like to hear your thoughts. So please do comment on Newsroom Talk, our blog, and let us know what you're thinking.